go in, go in, go in, go in, go in, man, go in.
Let's transition to a matchup in Jacksonville. Patrick Mahomes versus Trevor Lawrence. It's the 2-2 Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Jacksonville to take on the 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Chiefs are favored by 3.5 points. It's an 8:15 p.m. kickoff on Monday Night Football. The over-under for this matchup is 46.5 points. So, let's start off with the Chiefs. Chiefs, 2-2 coming into this matchup. And the Chiefs have won 2 straight games. After the Chiefs lost their first 2 games against the Chargers and the Eagles, the sky was falling in Kansas City. Chiefs fans started to panic. And I feel like ever since the halftime of the Chiefs-Giants game, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they have been a much better offensive football team. I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes so far this year. Mahomes, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, 939 passing yards. He's completing 61% of his passes. Mahomes had 4 touchdowns alone against the Baltimore Ravens in the Chiefs' 37-20 rout over the Ravens. Now, the game was 37-20. That was the final score, but the final score was not indicative of what the actual outcome was of that game. The Chiefs dominated the Ravens in that matchup. I think the Ravens went up 7-0 in that game in the first quarter against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs never looked back. The Chiefs outscored the Ravens in that game. They outscored them 20-10 in the first half, and the Chiefs outscored the Ravens 17-10 in the second half. And I thought it was Patrick Mahomes' best performance so far this year against the Ravens, 25-37. He threw for 270 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He was very, very efficient in that game. And this is since halftime against the Giants, Patrick Mahomes this year. Before halftime against the Giants, they played the Giants in week 3. Mahomes had completed 57% of his passes. He had 6.0 yards per pass attempt. His touchdown to interception ratio was 2-1. And his passer rating was 77.4. This is before halftime against the Giants. And after halftime, Patrick Mahomes, he's completed 69% of his passes. His touchdown to interception ratio is 5-0. His yards per pass attempt is 7.7. His passer rating is 124.1. And so he has been balling since week 3 against the Giants. And I believe that the Chiefs, now that they have gotten back Xavier Worthy, the Chiefs' offense should be better in the passing game. Because that was the big question for the Chiefs when they lost their first 2 games. When they lost their first 2 games against the Chargers and the Eagles, Chiefs fans panicked because the Chiefs didn't have anybody that could take the top off of a defense. Remember, Xavier Worthy got injured week 1 against the Chargers in Brazil. Remember, he ran into Travis Kelce, so he was out the first 3 weeks of the season. And they lost Rashee Rice, obviously, to the suspension. Rashee Rice is suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season. And so Chiefs fans panicked, and the sky was falling in Kansas City. And so far, in these last 2 weeks, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs offense has come back to life. And Chiefs fans can relax, and they can relax as we head into the second quarter of the season. And that performance against the Ravens was outstanding by the Chiefs offense. Now, the Ravens have a bad defense. Make no mistake about it. The Ravens have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, but the Chiefs still hung 37 on them. And that Chiefs offense against the Ravens, because even last year, even though the Chiefs were winning games last year, they were not having great performances last year like they had in week 4 against the Ravens. They weren't doing that, against in last year. They weren't doing that. And so I thought that week 4 game against the Ravens, that was one of the greatest offensive performances from the Chiefs in a few years. Seriously. It's like probably since 2023. 2024, the Chiefs didn't really have a lot of elite offensive performances, but they had a great elite offensive performance against the Ravens in week 4. And so I expect the Chiefs to continue to perform at an elite level. They got Xavier Worthy back. Okay. You got Travis Kelce at tight end, and Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends in NFL history. At running back, you still got Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. And so I believe that the Chiefs will be better as the season wanes. And their running game also came alive against the Ravens. They had 118 rushing yards against the Ravens. Now, the Ravens, they are terrible against the run. They gave up over 100 and 150 rushing yards to the Lions in week 3. And so the Chiefs were able to have a lot of success against the Ravens in the running game. And it was a balanced attack. Isaiah Pacheco, he had 35 rushing yards. Kareem Hunt had 34 rushing yards as well. Even Xavier Worthy got in on it. He had 38 rushing yards. So the Ravens defense is not a good team against the run. And so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if the Chiefs can run the football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they only give up 83 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 4th in the NFL. So we're going to see if the Chiefs can still run the football against the Jags like they did against the Ravens. Because then against the Ravens, they had their way. But the Jags actually do pretty good against the run. Now, when I look at the Jags, they are led by Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence this year, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 845 passing yards. He's completing 58% of his passes. I believe Trevor Lawrence has regressed. And one of the examples of Trevor Lawrence being regressed as a quarterback and honestly not being as good as he once was the week 2 game against the Bengals. The Jags, they had already went 1-0. They beat the Panthers in week 1. And it's week 2. They're in Cincinnati. Bengals had lost Joe Burrow, and they had a lead in the 4th quarter against Jake Browning and the Bengals. We see how much the Bengals have struggled since that week 2 matchup against the Jags. That was an opportunity for the Jags to dominate the Bengals and honestly take off on the Bengals and win that game decisively. And instead, they allowed the Bengals to hang around. Bengals ended up staying close to the Jags, and they overcame I believe it was like a 3-point deficit in the 4th quarter, and they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. But for me, Trevor Lawrence has just regressed. He's no longer an elite young quarterback to me. I think now Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, those are quarterbacks I would take right now over Trevor Lawrence. And so to me, Trevor Lawrence, this is a big season for Trevor Lawrence the rest of the season. Because if Trevor Lawrence does not play at a competent level and the Jaguars do not make the playoffs, I believe if you are the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have to seriously consider moving off of Trevor Lawrence and drafting a quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft. Remember a few years ago when the Jags were in the divisional round of the playoffs? And now they lost against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, But it seems like the Jags have went downhill since that playoff game against the Chiefs in Arrowhead a few years ago. Remember that was a year when the Jags overcame a 30-point deficit and they outlasted Justin Herbert and the Chargers. And that night I said, I can't take Justin Herbert over Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence just came back and beat Justin Herbert. And Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars have been on a spiral downhill ever since that game. Now, they are 3-1 so far this season. And they have 3 wins against teams that honestly are not very good. The Carolina Panthers are not a good football team. The Jags beat the Panthers week 1. And week 3, the Jags beat the Texans 17-10. And week 4, the Jags beat the 49ers 26-21. But neither the Panthers, Texans, or 49ers are playoff teams in my eyes. So, yes, the Jags are 3-1, but they haven't beaten any significant competition. This would be their first win against a quality opponent so far this year. And so we're going to see how they respond. I'm looking at this Jaguars team overall offensively and their makeup. Obviously, you got Travis Etienne in the backfield. You still got Travis Hunter at receiver. Okay? You got Brian Thomas Jr. as well. At tight end, you got Brenton Strange as well. And so this Jaguars offense, they have a lot of potential. They really got a lot of potential. And I'm looking at the Jags statistics offensively. They're averaging 144 rushing yards per game with Travis Etienne. That's ranked 4th in the NFL. They are tied for 16th in points earned per game. They only average 24 points per game, which is tied for 16th. And they average 204 passing yards per game. That's tied for 18th. 355 total yards of offense, which is ranked 12th. Now, Liam Cohen is the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and their defense was supposed to, and their defense and their offense was supposed to be better with Liam Cohen at the helm. But right now, the Jaguars, along with the Indianapolis Colts, they are the 2 best teams right now in the AFC South until the Texans can get their act together. But it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, I want to see that Chiefs rushing attack against that Jaguars run defense. Jags run defense is ranked 4th in the NFL. They do a tremendous job against the run. But I want to see how Trevor Lawrence performs in this game. And if Chris Jones and Steve Spagnuolo is the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, I want to see if they can get pressure on Trevor Lawrence. Because if they can, it could be a long day at the office for old Trevor Lawrence. And I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence so far this year. The 5 touchdowns and the 4 interceptions are not impressive. The 4 interceptions, honestly, are not good at all. I mean, he threw some passes against the Bengals in week 2 that were terrible throws. And I'm watching that game thinking to myself, what the hell is he doing? So Trevor has to do a better job of protecting the football and putting his receivers in positions to make plays and not be a turnover machine. But I believe right now the Chiefs are playing better football than the Jags are. I believe Patrick Mahomes is heating up and the Chiefs offense is starting to heat up and get going overall. So I'm rolling with the Chiefs to beat the Jags in Jacksonville on Monday Night Football. I'll go Chiefs 28, Jags 21.